most significant awards that we offer because it speaks to the impact that one of our members has had on the community is our mentorship award or our mentor award. And this year, unfortunately, we have to present it posthumously, but we're excited to be joined by the family and co-worker of Sal Longo. From Sell On You, but many other businesses along the way and a lot of impact in the community. So first I'm joined here by Jill, his wife, and Jill, I love your name. Yeah. So my twin here, who's looking far more chic than I am, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me and tell me a little bit about coming to Belleville, because obviously Longo is not really a name that we hear.
No, my mom and dad were working for the unemployment insurance in Toronto. And so when they moved down here, we used to visit them all the time and thinking, what a great place to raise a family.
Okay.
So I was 9 months pregnant when we moved here and loved it ever since.
Okay.
And Sal opened up his salon. He had two on Dundas before we went into Century Place.
Okay.
And then bought the McKinney building and opened up that.
Okay, and how many, so now, hairdresser from ever? What brought him into the hairdresser?
He was 16.
Okay.
Went to Marvell School.
Okay.
Still working for the Longo family, going to the market for them, but his love and passion was the hair.
Okay.
So he went and worked for his brother-in-law on the beaches, and from there it was history moving to Belleville.
Okay, and so the two salons on Dundas Street. So why two?
Actually, there was three. He started small, and then just getting more staff, bigger and bigger, and ended up in Century Place.
And how would you say you recruited these staff? Because that's a big deal right now, getting new employees.
I just think probably I would have to say 75% of them came to Sal without any education. He just taught them and brought them from, when they moved into the salon as a hairstyle, as washing hair.
Okay.
And they grew and grew
and he didn't hesitate to teach them anything.
Oh God, he loved it.
Yes.
He loved it.
So are you a hairdresser as well?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there we go. So
no.
it's truly his domain.
Yes.
Yes. And so you had the three on Dundas, you went to Century Place. Talk a little bit more about how the business grew.
People just kept coming, and I think he had the passion. If he knew someone was really good, he just kept at them, and we had more and more staff coming.
Okay.
And then he wanted to own his own building, which we went into the McKinney building at that time. I think it was real estate they were in.
Okay.
And turned that store over and kept growing and growing and growing till finally we ended up at the mall.
And that's a big deal.
Yes, we have 65 staff up there.
That's incredible. And would you say that now, do you still use apprenticeship, because now it's a certified trade, but you also do more than hair?
We have a spa there also.
Right.
Yes.
And so was that something that he intended to get into, or was?
We started that out pretty well down in when we had the building down, the old McKinney building, and then Shirley Ann and Loretta started a spa.
Okay.
And then when we moved to the mall, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And Shirley Ann wanted to get more time into hair because that was her passion. They didn't have enough time for the spa.
Right. Best memory of Sal's discovery of somebody, or how he felt passionate about the mentorship? Do you have?
Well, it was probably my cousins in Lakefield. Sal knew that they were really, really good, and they were working for someone else. So, and they couldn't really open up their own salon, so we opened up in Lakefield. Salon Sorella, which means sisters. So the two sisters, we brought them along, and once they got to a point that they could take over, and now they're a huge success up in Lakefield.
That's a fantastic story.
Yeah, and we've had one fellow that worked for us in Toronto now has two salons in Greece and Holland.
Wow.
Another girl in Barrie. They're all over.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So his legacy lives on.
I think so. Yes. Yeah, in many different countries.
And further to the Sal story, I am now joined by Shirley Ann, who has been one of his longest term employees, I think. Tell me a little bit about that, Shirley Ann.
Well, I think I was about 18 or 19 when Sal and Jill first came to Belleville, and I had just finished my apprenticeship and became a hairstylist and thought I had the hair world by the tail. But anyways, Sal taught us differently for sure. So at the time, I'll just go back a little bit. At the time, your clientele was like a weekly clientele, sets and colors and perms. But Sal said, no. I'm going to teach you how to do a great haircut. People can do their own hair. And then you'll have like a 4 to 6 week clientele. And that is, we thought he was crazy, but no, Sal always proved to be right. So education was a huge part of everything Sal did for us, huge. He taught himself. We went from Toronto to New York to Montreal to LA. I've been for classes, and it was always a huge part. Sal was, I think, one of the only men I knew that loved change so much. Change in hair, change in salons.
Yeah.
He was always renovating, or we were moving, but it was.
So which salon did you start with then? Were you on Dundee?
I started with La Maison Sal on his very first one on Front
that's
Street.
fantastic.
Yeah, and just went from there.
So wonder now you've moved into Beyond Hair.
I did. We, Loretta, my sister, and I started a spa. Yes, we did, within the salon with
Okay.
Sal's help. He mentored us with the business part of it, and Sal always pushed you a little bit to get out of that box, right? Always pushed you to do your best. Yeah.
In his quiet, unassuming way.
Yes. And humorous way.
Right.
Yes, always had a great sense of humor, for sure. Always did.
That's fantastic.
So we had, we worked hard, but we also had lots of fun over the years too. Always, yeah.
Any last little thoughts that you'd like to add to that? If there's a specific memory, a moment in time?
There's so many. I would just like to say we respected each other very well. Always loyal, and yes, always lots of fun. And he was like a brother to me. He was a friend, a mentor, a boss. He was all of those things. Yeah.
And joined now by Ashley, Sal's daughter, who is now running and operating Salon U at the mall. I just would love to hear a little bit about how you grew into the business, and
Yeah.
was that your intention?
No, actually, I went to university for 4 years and I studied kinesiology. And then when I graduated, I was supposed to start teachers college, but at that time we were just opening the second location at the Quinte Mall, and he wrote me into staying for a year to help at the front desk. And then after the end of that year, I ended up in Toronto at hairdressing school. Yep.
So what was it like to work with your dad?
Definitely a ride, that's for sure. To say I was lucky to have the opportunity to work beside him for so many years would definitely be an understatement. He always pushed us, was tough on us, but he did it with kindness and compassion, and always taught us to do things with passion, to always give 100% or don't bother at all, and mostly just to be a good person.
You've been able to watch his mentorship expand across, like your mom said, even across countries. Is there any particular person or idea or something that you think really came out of your dad being the supporting role?
Yeah, it's funny. I if you would have asked me that before, I would have maybe said a handful of people, but after he passed, the post that we got from hundreds of people saying how he mentored them or changed their lives in so many different ways, I don't think there's just one particular instance. I think there's just hundreds of little stories that made the difference in so many people's lives. Mm-hmm.
And so when we want to talk about the mentorship that Sal had, or why we're kind of awarding him with this, and again, I'm so sorry that we couldn't have done this for him, because it would have been fun to have this conversation with him
yeah.
too. He probably wouldn't have shared any of this
No.
because he doesn't think that he was, but knowing that there were hundreds of people that were touched by him and chose a career path maybe because of him,
Yep.
including yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So, all the best to you guys. I know it's probably been a challenge to try and continue on, but he would want you to.
For sure, absolutely.
And, with passion.
Yes.
And continue that. All the best.
Thank you so much.